Late night chat, Sunday, January 16th, 10 p.m. Topic, the challenge of being enough, which is really interesting. I got to digress for a second because my Hebrew name, Dayenu, means enough.
Uh, so it should be the challenge of being enough.
Yes. Adi K. Irani, Baba's secretary, said, the goal is not perfection. It is to be perfectly human. Here are words of Baba frequently quoted by Eruch. To be natural is most godly. He didn't say be spiritual is most godly. Some questions to consider. Did you grow up feeling you needed to always be improving? I'm sorry, this sounds like therapy, like what I need to deal with in therapy, that you were never enough. To what extent did your parents, teachers, peer group give you the feeling that you were always falling short? Is that disapproval sometimes projected onto Baba, feeling that he disapproves of us when we fall short? In school, was education always future-oriented, not purely a present moment undertaking that you enjoyed? Was the focus on some future result? And what we are or know the present was never enough? Have you ever found that when you pursue something from the depths of your heart, you naturally improve and develop your talent and capacity in depth, that you feel fulfilled and complete as you went along? Have you discovered that when you pursue something with your mind, you feel you are always falling short, the goal usually ever reaching and ultimately unattainable? Are you haunted by thoughts of having to be more productive, of having to do something more with your life, whether it is an achievement at work, being at the top of your class, acquiring a reputation of excellence in your field, or being an exemplary parent or homemaker? Do you find a tension in yourself between the desire for self-improvement on the one hand and self-acceptance on the other? What effect does this tension have in your heart? Do you feel that Baba's response to you is based on merit or being deserving of his loving attention? Do you sometimes feel that you are not enough for Baba, not spiritual enough? Is it possible to accept ourselves as we are right now, trusting that we are always enough in Baba's eyes? Enough in his love? Jeff.
So, let me, anybody want to venture out on that topic? I mean, it's, I mean, we read it out because not everybody gets the email that I sent out. But anybody up for venturing out? You're not going to make me do it. Start. Okay. Okay. I mean, I'll kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. And I'll just start out. So, you know, for many years, probably like most of us, I was bothered by a feeling of inadequacy. And it didn't come from my parents, but something I must have internalized, probably from school or just from society itself. And, you know, there were many areas I was quite confident in growing up, but this feeling of inadequacy would show up when I would have to be in charge of something, or especially if I had to give a talk, you know, it was, and for many years, I did the Friday night programs at the center. And even though Kitty Davey and Jane Haynes asked me to do them and they supported me, I never felt comfortable. I mean, I felt like it was in over my head with the whole thing and not quite up to the task. And so, you know, where did this feeling of inadequacy come from? I mean, that was, you know, I couldn't get at it. I couldn't clear it out from at a conscious level. You know, it was lodged in my subconscious somewhere, and I couldn't get rid of it. And then over the years, every time it would come up, you know, I would give it to Baba. I would put my awareness on that feeling. It was always in my heart area, and imagine that it would flow energetically to Baba. And I chipped away at it kind of layer by layer over the years. But I never really, you know, I never really was able to get rid of it. I was focused on, you might say, self-improvement, getting this out of my system. But after a while, it helped. I just kind of accepted it in myself, and lived with it. And I didn't have as much It was more difficult when I was trying to overcome it than when I just decided to live with it. And so it was kind of there, but I wasn't so enmeshed in the whole problem. And I remember back in the early 70s, Mara, you know, Baba's closest of the women, said that, and I was young at the time, and she said that she had this fear of heights. And when she went up to Seclusion Hill behind Marazad, she had to actually crawl on her hands and knees to, you know, to get to the top. And I thought, inside, I thought, wow, she, you know, after all these years with Baba, she hasn't overcome the fear of heights. And I thought, it must really not be that important. I mean, Mara was not bothered by the fact that she had a fear of heights. In other words, she didn't have a problem with her problem. And I kind of, I focused on that. I don't need to have a problem with this inadequacy. It's kind of there. After all these years, it's much more minor. But anyway, that's my little sojourn in, and I never felt that Baba was displeased with my feeling of inadequacy. In fact, I felt he's always been kind of cheering me on to get through it or find a way to deal with it. I never felt from Baba's side that he was displeased or unhappy with it. More, he was empathetic about my situation. So anyway, I'm putting that out as, I don't know if there's anything more to say there, but that's my, you know, that's my what I have to say. I mean, I've got a lot of different things that I've had to work on over the years, but that's one way I worked on that in myself, by kind of living with it more than trying to get it completely rid of from my consciousness. That make any sense? That ring a bell with anybody? Okay, so I'm going to call Lanita first because I saw her hand up early. Lanita, can we see you? Huh.
Yes. Can you see my beautiful hair?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to relate this with our meeting this afternoon about the self-effacement.
Yeah.
You know, I think this thing of being enough is, I don't think it is, we think we're not enough when we're not related to our higher self. You know, when we are related to our higher self, when we talk about this afternoon, this self-effacement, the self-effacement is just the opposite as being enough. You know, being enough is the ego trying to get together this scattered self, like Darwin Shaw talked this afternoon in the book about the scattered self. You know, the self-esteem mark, like a sense of integration, the bringing together of the self, the scattered self. And when I think when we think about we're concerned about the not being enough, or we have this feeling of being enough. is because we're trying to get through the ego. The ego is trying to get this scattered self, not the spirit. You know what I mean? I don't know but if I make any sense, but I try to relate to the self-effacement. It's the opposite, the self-effacement. When we do the self-effacement, we are like in tune with our higher self. We try to go to the level of the spirit. And we are down here on the ego when we are dwelling over this being enough or not being enough. I'm not enough. I feel like I'm not accepted. I'm not enough. You know what I mean? That kind of the dwelling through this. This is the ego dwelling. So I think it's good that you brought up it, Jeff, because it's just the opposite that we talked about this afternoon. You know, the self-effacement of Darren Shaw in the book Effort and Grace. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, you're saying that. Well, Baba said.
Anybody wants to?
Baba said you can never really.
About.
One of the things that Baba said is you can never come to terms with the ego.
What?
So we're never going to get it right. We have to just kind of turn to, as you say, to the level of the spirit and feel the wholeness there, the completeness there. But so yeah. Jay Sema, you can see it. Okay.
Martha next. Marsha?
I remember when I was born, I was afraid. And I think it was from my last reincarnation. So I used to have bad dreams, but basically I was a very happy child. I lived in a building with my mom's 3 sisters and all my cousins. And when I started to go to school, I was very excited about it. But in my school, they had peer groups. There was the most popular group called I don't want to say the name anyway, but so they had a club, and I was like kind of in a group of my own friends that I liked, and then there were kids that were considered kind of weird, and then people that everybody made fun of, and so that was kind of difficult. But I realize now that I never tried to get into any group because I was happy with my friends, and that it was probably my fault too, that I didn't have the confidence in myself to push my way in. So anybody that came new to the school, they were like kind of pushed their way into the popular group. And I kind of just hung with my friends all these years. And I was kind of gifted because I had this artistic talent. So I always got out of classes. And so I felt special in that way, that Baba made me special, because when everybody was doing history, I was painting portraits on the wall to hang in the hall, and I'd get out of class to do bulletin boards. So he gifted me that way. That was a good gift, right? And my mother was very, very strict. So I come from a Jewish background, so I always had guilt. I used to walk to a place where there was a lot of Jewish families, and there was a Catholic school there. And when we would walk by, at one time I got spit on and called a dirty Jew, and that felt pretty bad. But anyway, basically, I got to see the Beatles, and do all kinds of. I had a great life. So sometimes I felt sorry for myself, but I don't know if this is the kind of thing where you tell your story, but I haven't told my story to Robin Vogel, so I'll stop if you want. But I think people should know where people come from, and I've never told my story. So,
well, let's.
I can do that another time. I can do that another time. Yeah.
But yeah,
okay.
We'll do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I'm looking just for anything else to that one point, and then I'll go. So I'm just thinking about coming to the Baba group, like this group that we did. I'm very afraid of social media, so I didn't want to appear, and I didn't even know when I decided to be a teacher, I didn't even know that I could teach. But in my last year of college, I decided, well, I do art. What can I do that would make me happy? So I got lucky. I chose to be a teacher, and I never wanted to be a teacher, but all of a sudden I was a teacher. And then I was lucky. I never had a garden, and I moved to a place and I became a gardener. And then I learned how to do Tai Chi because I was sick. So I've had every illness and everything that could happen to anybody happen to me, so that I have empathy towards everybody that has illnesses, because Baba has giving me everything. It's like, so in a way, he's giving me everything, but it made me realize that what he says about suffering is really true, that suffering brings you closer, and that it's always one step forward, two steps back, and that I'm never been going back. He's always kept me forward. And now I'm finally arrived. So I'm happy. And I'm happy to say that just follow your heart and be kind and you'll be fine. I love you guys. Thanks.
Okay,
Okay.
who else we got?
Tony,
Hi. Um, I often walk around with my mind in a muddle. I mean, in my heart is pretty consistently good with Bob, except my physical heart. I had a heart attack a few years ago, but the mind is always getting caught up in not muddled, but like churning over issues. Like, I don't know if whether I'm enough is so much, but more like I'm not enough, or I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to do this, or why am I really doing the right thing? Or I mean, there's such a range of these basically these ego thoughts, as Lenita was saying. And what I find myself doing, I've studied Course in Miracles over the years. As I said, I feel Baba gave that book, Incognito, but it gives a lot of attention to dealing with this kind of stuff, and we're reviewing it again this year. And so when I take my quiet time with Baba, and I see this starting to churn, I ask Baba, whatever the thing is, I'll say, I mean, I know it's not true, but I believe it. And I can tell myself I know it's not true, it's false, it's not, but I believe it. So in my quiet time in Baba's presence, I will ask, Baba, is this true? Is this thought true? And if it's not, what is the truth about this? Because I clearly can't, get clarity on it. And I'm finding it very helpful. The areas in which I am currently churning are not resolved, but the more I ask, the more I feel Baba gives me distance from those thoughts. And I'm remembering Kenmore saying, you have to become a witness to the pranks of Maya. You have to become a witness to the pranks of your mind. You have to become a witness. And I'm sort of at this advanced stage, beginning to really get that if I step into Baba's presence and say, tell me what I'm seeing here, and is it so? And if not, what is? I tend to get more clarity and distance from that. And then you see it's just a puff of smoke. Yeah.
Tony, what are the nature of some of your thoughts? I mean, is it that you're falling short, you're incompetent, you're
Well, one, I mean, I can give one relating to my acting before COVID, where I was doing a lot more of it. I was in an off-Broadway version of Phantom. I was the lead. I played the author and the chief investigator. He cast himself in the main role in the book. And it was clearly a gift of Baba, and it was a gift to the audience. I had to take Baba's name. I had to say the prayers. I had to go inside and remember Baba's guidance to actors, to repeat to myself, I can and will express this part thoroughly. And before you go on, think I'm the greatest actor in the world, Baba said. If it's not for ego, what's the harm in it? And I would ask Baba, please do this through me. And invariably, I could tell from the response from the audience, especially after the program, some of it astounding, that Baba stepped in. But within me was always this frantic, fearful doubt that I could do it. And that often happens when I'm acting. I have a Baba story. I just shared a small version of it with the kids in the tween Sahavas last Sunday. I feel Baba wants me to write this as a movie of some kind. And I put myself through so much, and I've done versions of it and versions of it. Then I get stopped and I can't write at all. And I get caught up as, is this something you want me to do? Or is this something I just want to do? And if it is something I want to do, well, I'm not that interested. If it's something you want me to do, then help me get out of the way. And so this is something where I'm giving the flavor of how agonizing this is for me. And yet today, I was able to say, I want to turn this story over to you. Now, I kind of feel it's all in Bob. He wrote the story, so to speak. And I can't even say I turn it over to you because I don't believe myself. I don't believe I'm being sincere. So I went to the point of saying, Baba, I want to turn this over to you because I can see how this can be done in a way that you would really like it to be done. But I'm not able to do it at the moment. So I'm giving him my biggest, and this is an ongoing thing for years. And so, yeah, I'm working with it. I know it's not true. I mean, I know if I'm willing to let it go, Baba can show me what he wants, doesn't want, what's true in my thinking, what's not true in my thinking. But the more I try and tangle with it, I used to think of that as the Peruvian finger vice. If you remember those things, you put one finger on each side and you try and get out. And the more you try and get out, the more your fingers are stuck. And the only way you can get out of it is if you just loosen up completely, stop pulling, and just let it come off. So I think these ego things, am I enough? Or should I be doing this? Or will I be able to do this part? Or, am I worthy of this job? Or whatever it is it's illusion that's strengthened by us tugging at it. And where I'm able to stop tugging, that's good. But on this big one, I've had breakthrough moments that have gone for months and the writing pours out. And now for like a month and a half, I can't sit down at the keyboard. So I work with Baba on it best I can, but I know it's false. I know it's false. It's ego catching me, and it's me falling for the pranks of Maya.
Yeah, good. Excellent. I like that line. The ego falling for the pranks of Maya. Jayseema, who's
Peter.
Yes, thank you, Jayseema. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so in my thoughts about being enough or not being enough, I think in this day and age, especially media and just marketing and like TV and movies and those things play into effect extremely. I mean, for me and I think a lot of people, with different perceptions in life, like you have to be very wealthy, or you have to get this goal in life, and then when you reach this goal, here's the next step and the next step. So I would say like that definitely has an influence, and it's everywhere you look, on like social media and movies, TV, and then even when we compare ourselves to other people, either fictional people or people in real life, and humans always compare. Like that's the way our minds work. I mean, it's natural. Even animals compare in a way. So it's that's my 2 cents I would like to contribute.
Yeah. So in other words, just because of the media, you wind up, like, say, comparing your guitar work with someone like Pete Townsend, and you're always going to fall short, right? That type of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Whatever
that. Exactly.
Or you're writing, you're trying to compare with Ernest Hemingway or something, and
yes,
or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. There's always a measuring stick, or like, or some with parenting. Like some parents put pressure on their kids, like you got to do this when you grow up, or you got to do this. Like a lot of it is environment, I think, too. But I mean, as a Baba follower, I try to like just remember that like Baba loves me for who I am, and he created me to be who I am in his world, and like that I am perfect, and God created us the way he wants us to. So I try to remember that. It's not always easy.
Perfectly imperfect. Okay.
Next, Meher. Meher, Darwala.
Hey, Baba. I'm this thing answering to this thing, Tony's thing. I have found that Baba tells us very often like in my mind, it happens very often when I'm doing something. He says, "Oh, you can do it. Why don't you try your level best and do it?" Huh? And I have started from some time back writing my own poems. And I think, oh, how am I going to do this thing? But many people who have sent it to, I've read it to, have said, "Oh, you've done such a good thing. From where did you get these words and everything?" And Baba is saying that you must try and motivate in your own this thing self. Because why do you do this thing? You have the courage to do all this. And that's why I really feel that Baba is helping a lot to me and telling me what to do. That I feel that is my main thing. And I'm very glad that I've come into Baba's fold. Jai Baba.
Yeah, thank you, Meher. Beautiful. We
Thanks.
need that kind of voice happening.
Next, Dinku.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, yeah.
Jeff, I'm very glad you brought up this topic. It's been something that's been bothering me a lot because my feelings of inadequacy started when I was a kid. And, my dad was very strict and he always, I think he set such high levels. I was always being compared to one of my brothers who was a whiz in sports and in studies, whereas I was an average student and not good in sports. So not only him, but with his friends' kids, who would do very well. And that sort of gave me a feeling of being not good enough, even though I'd strive. But it was never enough for him. And with the results, it sort of, pushed me back into myself, always doubting myself, always feeling inadequate. And I'm comfortable when I'm with friends, but when it comes to family, it's still there because even now, my family makes me feel I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. So of course, Baba's helped me a lot because I'm comfortable when I'm with him and I know what I'm doing, what I'm feeling, what I'm saying, not right now, but I mean, in general, is good enough for me. But yet I'm being pulled down every time and it's family that's doing it. And it's sort of a contradictory thing in my life that's been going on always. And sometimes I don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, even to be able to speak it out is half of the solution, I would say,
Well, thanks to you.
Yeah,
And
no,
for
I mean,
bringing
it's,
this up.
yeah, I mean, we're all, yeah, these are universal problems and yeah, that would be interesting, even just taking that one thing of a person or family member always kind of never quite getting their approval, how to get around that particular issue. I mean, is there anybody who has worked with that and kind of got around to the other side of feeling disapproved by the family, and you've kind of got to a place where you can at least live with that, or you found a way through it? I'll put that out there. I mean, anybody, is there anybody that has kind of dealt with it quite very much the same thing and kind of found some way to get on the other side of that? Well, we'll leave that on the table because there's some other hands there. I don't know if they're responding, but yeah, go ahead, Jai
Yeah.
Shiva.
That is.
Yeah, Jai Baba, everybody.
Yeah.
This is really a very full-on topic. And it has fallen again on a day where I'm involved in another circle of awareness that happens once a month. And ironically, they seem to piggyback when I show up at this too. So what I want to comment on first and foremost is, as a child, and I can speak with this with you, Dinko, in our childhood state, my awareness was limitless. And I recall very clearly, this was before the conditioning came in. I can recall clearly that I felt really in everybody, and everybody was in me. And I couldn't understand when I posed a question out to the parents or somebody as an adult, why people didn't acknowledge our oneness. So, and at that time I had, no mental activity and no reason to think I wasn't limitless. So there wasn't a question of, was I enough? I mean, I was everything. And so then in my family, my primary family, I was a military child of a very strict parent with highly raging, all kinds of things that happened. You don't need the whole story, but in that upbringing, like Dinku, you were made to feel not enough. You had to live up to an expectation of up to high grades, good talents, whatever. Luckily, I had a lot of skills and I was able to perform, if you will, achieve, if you will, good grades, this, that, what have you. But even at that, there wasn't a question of not enough, but there was a question of pleasing and staying out of reprimand, if you will. And so I find it interesting that as I look back on these early years and then my primary, junior high, high school years, if I was in touch with the child in me, there was never a question. As a matter of fact, that beingness, that awareness was strong enough, even through the tormented family, primary family stuff. I just got away from them, basically. I married at, 18 out of high school, went off and had things. And then that's when Baba came in. Baba came in when I was 19. And basically I was not unhappy. I was seeking, because it was the late 60s, and most of you know this because I've mentioned it before. But I don't think I was thinking I wasn't enough. I was thinking, this isn't enough. Life, this isn't real, this world. So in the process of exploring that, getting total acceptance from Mayor Baba and his mandali, then, only then did I question, how could somebody love me? How could somebody accept me as I would, as if they could see all the darkness and all the this and that. So, and so those years, those early years with the mandali, then going in for, I've got a 50-year relationship, over 50 years. So the question then arose in me, am I pleasing Baba? And that's only come along in the really later years. In those early years with the honeymoon, I just felt accepted, I felt loved. And so retrospectively now, I'm realizing that the awareness through effort and grace, somebody mentioned, Lanita was mentioning that earlier, and through understanding that we are the expansiveness, we are the limitlessness, we are okay. We are perfectly imperfect, as you said, Jeff. It is the absolute right of our state of awareness, what we're destined to, but because of the conditioning and the life story and what was planted and how we have to unravel it, come back to that state, then there would be that question through the mind. And it is just the mind. If we settle into the awareness of our being and really sit with it, sit with the purity, the limitlessness, the joy, all of that, then I don't find myself in question of, am I enough? And yet I have achieved in my life, in this life, by, I think, Baba's grace and by talents given to me, what would look like a lot of, quote, success. There's always been the heart pain from the primary family, but I have to just acknowledge that was all to bring me to Baba, and I have to have that forgiveness and that longing to be more in his fold and just know that this was just the process. So, I mean, it's not without a lot of different things that have come up, and I've shared this before, but I remember that early purity of those children, and I being one of them, where it was not an issue. I was limitless. I was part of everybody. And the question never arose. It only arises when we are programmed differently from society and through the mind and through conditioning, is what I think. So, and it's a rough road, but, and I've had the grace to look at it through a longer life of lens. That's all. So, Jai Baba, everybody.
I got a phone call right at the tail end, but beautifully spoken, Patty.
Yeah.
Really. And I do feel like Bob is bringing us back to that expansiveness and timelessness of childhood.
Right.
Which is really who we are.
Right.
And we have to kind of get through the rapids.
Right. And really that what is so appealing is the naturalness of a child. And what was so appealing about the Mandali is their naturalness. And it was that, to me, to be perfectly human, if you will, even with all of what it looks like. It's just if we can keep our vision towards that, then I think those questions of, are we enough, are just trains that walk in, train tracks that came into the train station, and we don't have to take it out anywhere,
Yeah.
We can let it go on.
Very good.
Yeah.
Wow. So.
Shraddha.
Hi, Jai Baba, everyone. Jai Baba, Jeff. What beautiful topic. And am I enough? Am I not enough? Am I good? Am I doing enough for Baba? Am I pleasing enough? And I remember only one thing when a thought similar to this occurs to me. And a lot of close Baba lovers and disciples just recently reminded me of the same thing again too. Whenever a thought occurs like this to me, then I remember what Eruch once said to Rustam Falahati that he's captured in his book, The Real Treasure. Brother, you're not remembering Baba enough. When a thought as such occurs to me, I remember that, I'm not doing enough to remember him. If I remember him, I wouldn't be remembering me, I would be remembering him.
Beautiful.
And I met LB Thade, Kaka's wife, Sunita Thade, in Ahmednagar this time when I went to Pune. And the one thing that she reminded, she was very happy when she heard about how we have these discussion groups, we read books, we discuss, we try to bring Baba in our daily lives. But she reminded me again, there's no need to do any of that stuff at all, dear. All you have to do is Vedi Bhakti. Vedi Bhakti in Marathi means crazy devotion. Just say his name, just go crazy mad behind remembering him. Just say his name out loud. Just go singing his name so lovingly and so joyfully that you just forget about everything else. That's all that is needed to be done at that moment. So I think, and my father constantly reminded us of doing the same thing. He would say all these craziness, all our weaknesses, all our failures, all of people's things that keep bothering us every moment, from time to time, they're going to keep on going on and on and on. There's never any end to this. But the bliss and the joy that you would find in just remembering him and going crazy behind remembering his name, taking his name constantly, would go on endlessly, and it will spread that joy to the rest around you, and that will create that vibes around you too. So there needs only one person in a household to start that craziness, that madness in the household, and it's just so contagious that everybody slowly, gradually just catches onto it and latches onto it somehow or the other. And I think that we've kind of caught it from my dad, who used to be very crazy behind, just remembering Baba's name all the time, singing his bhajans. He had by heart Tukaram Maharaj's bhajans that Baba used to love. There are about 16 of them, and he would sing them all the time, every day without fail, up until his last day when he was hospitalized too. So I think just remembering Baba is probably the answer when we think about ourselves. Are we doing enough? Are we pleasing Baba enough? The thought that we are thinking about us is a reminder enough that we are not remembering him enough. So
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Baba used to say, don't try to fight the shadows, turn toward the sun. If you turn toward the sun, then your shadows are behind you. But it's depends on where that finds you in your life. It may be hard to see the sun, but that's beautiful. And your family were all belong to Baba in such a beautiful way. Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Okay. And we got an Australian coming up here.
Irani.
An Australian. How is the mic tonight?
Good.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was thinking when Patty was talking about your childhood, my childhood was incredibly ordinary. There were just three people. There wasn't anybody to compare anybody to anybody. There was just Mum, who was my girlfriend and 19 years older than me, and Dad, who was at work all day and happy to get on the train and get a seat on the train coming home and a free newspaper or something. There wasn't any comparison. And then when they decided to put me into competition in ballroom dancing from a little girl, even at that point, I wasn't that shy. It was just one class after another. And I didn't kind of get it. I didn't get competition. In fact, I am hopeless and do not like comparative thought, period. Don't you think they're better than the Beatles? I have no idea. The Beatles are the Beatles and the Rolling Stones are the Rolling Stones. I've never been good at comparative stuff. But when I came to Baba, oh my God, the inadequacies, the self-consciousnesses, the feeling, just hideous feelings and lows and highs and so on. And I was with somebody when I came to Baba, and he is very, very bright and very involved, making movies and Baba and in the front and whatever. And I slowly became painfully self-conscious. it was egotistical. It was so complete and so hideous because I had no skill in it. I had no skill. And anyway, eventually, of course, Francis said there's no use for ballroom dancing in the Baba world. You're very musical and everything. Why don't you learn a song for the next Amratithi? That all started in 1969. I mean, I'd sing with records and things, and I'd been in talent shows, but nothing like that sort of level of singing. So anyway, time went by, and I sometimes could not finish a song. People at Advertiser Bob will tell you this. I would shake so violently, I'd have to stop singing in the middle and leave the stage. But eventually, with Roshan convincing me that I really ought to use the Dooney because it looked egotistical that I didn't use the Dooney because Francis said, don't mess with the Dooney. I threw in worry, as I mentioned before, because that was an order. So that was all right. And, but one time in India, in about 1987, I overheard Francis mutter to himself when somebody was so perfect playing Mozart, I believe, in Mandalay Hall, and he applauded and was very friendly to this person and everything. And as he walked away, he muttered, bloody perfectionism, isn't it a pain? And I thought about it, and the next day was Dooney. So I stuck my neck out and I threw it in.
Perfectionism.
That's the one.
Wow. Yeah.
It unraveled a million problems. It just made look like the unwinding spool of the century. It's like it just go back, just be Rainy, just be ordinary, just live in the suburbs, just be happy to get a train seat and a free newspaper. It doesn't matter. Just be ordinary. It doesn't have to be perfect. And, you know, as I dwelt on it for the whole, it turned out we were stuck there for 6 months or something. As I dwelled on it, it just got rid of it. It just stopped it. And even things that Francis had written that I'd even sung, you know, I realized that it's just ordinary. We're just ordinary, lovely people. And we just love him. And he's shocked and astonished that these ordinary people felt him and found him from little suburban houses and seats on trains. So he just loves us more than we could ever love ourselves anyway. And Francis wrote a cute little thing. He loves you more than you can ever love yourself. He enwraps you and protects you on your journey to yourself. He stoops down from his beyond state only out of love for you. He, the formless, ever free one, binds himself to make you free. And it just is, it's exhausting being perfectionistic. It's exhausting. It undermines our very thing we can do to entertain him or to love him or just to be our lovely, ordinary selves that he just went to so much trouble, as we saw in the Mandalay, to create without the effects. Jai Baba.
Beautiful, Rainey. Lovely, lovely. Wow. You captured all of that beautifully. Wow, very touching.
Payam.
Jai Baba. Wow, Rainey. Oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. You know, it is a very big topic. And I will say personally, I've struggled with, I'll just label it like performance anxiety, constant comparing. I mean, it's been years that I've been working on it. And I just wanted to share this beautiful incident with Don Stevens. So this is in the mid-90s. And I was about to go into this, how can I say, test situation to get licensed as a psychologist. You had to come in front of a panel of I don't know, professionals, professors, and they would ask you questions, vignettes that you haven't heard about, and you had to, on the spot, give your answer. So I was very nervous, and this was a very big deal to me at the time. And Adele Walken, some of you know her. I happened to be in San Francisco, and she called me on the phone and says, well, you know, Don Stevens is actually visiting. He's in the same hotel. I believe it was called the Holiday Inn at the time, but it was the same place that Baba had stayed. And she says, you know, Don always likes to stay there where Baba stayed. And why don't you go meet him? And I had never met Don before. So very nervously, I went to meet Don Stevens. My whole focus was, how am I going to get through this? Because I'm so nervous. I don't think I'll even be able to talk in front of these people. And it was just this big obstacle. So I sat with Don, and he was so sweet and kind and loving. And I presented my problem to him, and I said, Don, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And he said, Payam, just close your eyes and imagine that Baba is sitting next to you. Imagine that he's right there with you. And I am sure he will help you. And, you know, I was still, you know, in my early 20s, and my faith in Baba was still very, how can I say, fragile. So this seemed like too big of a problem that Baba could maybe help. But I did exactly that. And it was a really hard experience. I got my words out. And at the very end, I realized that I'd made a mistake, which would have caused me to fail that exam. But I said something. I was just very, how can I say, I was very vulnerable. And I said, well, I believe that I forgot to say something very important. And I shared, you know, the answer. And I came away from that saying, I know I failed. I totally failed that exam. And of course I passed by like a fraction. And that experience just was a foundation for me from then on to rely on Baba in all these situations that have still, it's still very hard sometimes. Even the other day, I was on the phone and had to speak about a situation that was really difficult. And I had Baba's picture, and I'm having a phone conversation, feeling very inadequate. And I just looked at Baba's picture the entire time. And even though I was really nervous inside, I know he took over. And I just, I don't know how many times he has to prove to me that he's right there with me, with all of us. And he's such a friend. I don't know how else to say it. And no matter what the situation, I think just taking his name and visualizing him in however personal way we do that, he really does help us through it. And it's not necessarily it's easy, but his help is so immediate. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. Thank you, Payam.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. That's the way, yeah, it's, and it must mean the world to Baba that you're bringing him into your most vulnerable moments. There's a line from that, one of Mara's favorite quotes from Baba is, seeds germinate in soft soil. I plant my seed of love, not in your strengths, but your weaknesses. Your most vulnerable moments. The light, as Rumi says, the light comes in through the wound, through the vulnerability. Yeah, beautiful. Wow.
Next, we have Tony.
After my last share, I was sitting here feeling so embarrassed, so really horrible. And I wanted to scrunch myself up into the corner at not at having shared this, but at having shared how I am for decades really failing to get at what this thing is. And even though I said what I'm trying to do now when I'm with Baba, I hadn't really done. And so I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my beautiful Lina painting of Baba. And I said, well, here it is. This embarrassment, this feeling of shame. I don't know what the thoughts are underneath it, Baba, but I know they can't be true. What are these thoughts and what is the truth here? What is this really all about? And then I finally put it aside and I stopped and I was listening. And then Rainey came on and told the story about bloody perfectionism. And Baba just like whacked me across the head in the most loving way possible. Yes, that I asked, what is it really all about? That perfection is yes, and yes, the Duni. I am also have great respect for the Duni. And it was years before I would throw things in. I would say, Avatar Mayor Baba Ki Jai Baba, you choose. Until one day on the hill, Mansari, Duni Day, came over and plopped 7 Duni sticks in my hand and walked away. And it was very clear to me, Baba was saying, there are 7 things I want you to throw in. Now, think about it, figure out what they are, and go down and throw them in. And I did. And each one is a story. So I have great respect for the Duni, but yes, perfectionism. God bless you, Rainey. Thank you, Baba. And that's the thing. I do find when I finally really ask the right question, Baba always answers. Thank you, Baba.
Yeah, beautiful, Tony. Right. Wow. Yeah.
And okay.
It's actually both of us, but
So listening, I mean, my mother was a dancer, so perfectionism she was a ballerina. And so perfectionism was how I was raised. I mean, the way she made a bed and the way, just everything was perfection. So that all rings true to me. And yet I had this, and I work on it. It's part of my daily routine. And I'm a dental hygienist, which is all about perfection. You know, not only is it about perfection, but until COVID, my doctor came and checked my patients, did an exam afterwards. So if I left anything behind, he would find it. So it felt you had to be perfect. So, and then again, through most of my years, I didn't have Baba. So I just kind of succumbed to perfection. And it's very, very painful to live with, as you who know, it's so much work. It's just ridiculous. And it's so unimportant. And then I got with Diane, and that's not her deal at all. She doesn't even see what I see. So that's another whole thing we got to deal. You know, there's just so much. Anyway, this week I had a thing with my kid that was so interesting to me, our kid, of course. And, but it was our thing. And she was being little and wanted us to send her a box with stuff in it. It was a whole thing. And I packed it up lovingly and thoughtfully, and I love to gift. And so it was like really exciting. And I couldn't wait till she would get it. And when she got it, something happened for her that she had to tell me. And it was that everything didn't work. And she wished that I had told her what I was sending, because if I had told her what I was sending, she could have edited it. And then when she opened the box, everything would be exactly what she wanted. And I shut down and I thought, buy your own effing gifts, girlfriend. I'm over it. I became so irate and I went to the first thing I do, and I've done it for many, many years, is write. And then when my sister passed away, I wrote to my sister. And then when I came to Baba, I write to Baba and my sister. And I can't leave my sister out, so they both have to listen. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote all those nasty things that I was just talking about. And I kept writing. And as I'm writing, the phone rings. So this is the second time that my kid is calling. And I said, you know, I'm shut down, Hannah. I can acknowledge that. I'm going to therapy on Wednesday. I'll work it through. I'll come back to you with something. But I can't do it now because the feelings that I'm feeling. And she kept pushing me and pushing me. And out of my mouth came, you haven't even sent me a Mother's Day card in years. You know, it came out of me. It was like, oh my God, it came out of me. And she said, wow, you know, she calls and stuff, but it's like, this was a big deal to me. We always did the card thing in my family. And I was thinking, oh my God, I just let something out that I've been holding in for so long, you know, for years, seriously. And I said, I really got to go now. And I keep writing and I keep writing. And my kid calls back a third time and she says, Mom, we can do this. You know, I said, you know, you don't have, she's a therapist. They're a therapist. You don't have to be my therapist. She said, no, we can just have a conversation, you and me, and get through to the other side of this. And then whatever comes up for you about being little or hurt, you can bring that to therapy when you go, but we can get through this. I trust that we can get through this. And, you know, if I hadn't written to Baba all my BS and asked him for his help to get me through it, you can't believe what a gift this has been. I just wrote to my kid, to tell them that this was such a big thing, you know, that we got through to the other side, loving each other, and they're checking in so much more in their process. I mean, it changed such a big thing. And that she got that my hurt is appreciation. I don't need to be gifted. I don't need just words, you know, just a card, just something sweet. And that came out of me, and she appreciated that. They appreciated that. I am so bad with that. Anyway, it just all clicked in this week. And it never would have happened without Baba. I don't know how long it would have taken. It wouldn't have taken 3 hours. It would have taken, God only knows how long I would have opened and been able to receive the gift. It was my gift. So it's been a great week. That's all I can say. Blessed be Baba. Blessed be all of you. Blessed be you, Jeff, for all that you sit and write and figure out. Blessed be us all. I'm just Jay Baba.
Yep.
So,
Baba, thank you. Wow.
thank you. Terry's right is I am not the perfectionist. That was a Mount Everest for me. But what I seem to suffer from is Groundhog's Day. That I'm still dealing with the same shit for the last 5+ decades that I've been dealing with, and it has made me insane. And so I mean, we do all sorts. Before Baba, we did Wiccan stuff. We would burn things and, you know, try and give things away. And
our own Dooney.
Yeah. So, you know, coming to Baba, and I have to say, I've talked about this before. This is kind of like where therapy and spirituality, the intersections meet, which is why this is such a fulfilling experience. Coming to these Zooms is that I can give it to Baba, but I do have fear of missing out. I hear people talk about how Baba talks to them, and or, you know, they have all these full conversations, and I'm thinking, you know, Baba, I don't hear you, you know, but we were just in a poetry reading right before this, and we're talking about Native American Indians really take the concept of getting a sign very important. And earlier this week, when I did give things to Baba and the Dooney, I did see the sign that things had gotten released. Not to perfection, not obliterated, not like I won't obsess about that thought ever again, but it had really gone down. The volume had really, really gone down. And I think I had to be quiet because I wake up a lot of times at 3:30 in the morning, and I can't go back to sleep. And I lie there and I say, okay, Baba, you've got my attention. What do I need to hear? What do I need to be thinking about? Because otherwise I really need this sleep. So I'm trying not to be thick about it. I mean, when I made a joke when I was reading your email about tonight is, oh my God, I think I've taken every one of these questions to a therapist over the last 5 decades. And they are what gets us in the way. And I think having Baba as a constant companion, I love Payam, the idea of him sitting right next to you. You know, a lot of times when I have to make, because I do HR for my work, when I have to have a difficult conversation with somebody, I always need to ask Baba to come with me now. Because left up to my own devices, what's that lovely line? You know, what my best thinking got me to where I am today. I better ask Baba for help here. So,
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
And you know, one of the things what I said there at the beginning that I kind of gathered from the mandala is there's perfectionism or self-improvement, shifting from self-improvement over to self-acceptance. Because some of the mandala, they could live with these things that I was inclined to have to get through and get and eventually overcome. And they're just living with them. Some of them were like nervous to speak in front of people, and that so if someone asked them to speak in front of others, they just said, no, I don't want to. It was like, whereas me, I'm thinking, oh my God, I've been struggling with this for years and everything. And that was not a big deal to them. So they were able to accept their shortcomings and improve the things that they felt like improving, but they weren't, you know, unfulfilled or incomplete. They were able to live with these things. Anyway. Yeah. I still think we're going to get realized right in the middle of washing the dishes or something, with a lot of unfinished things to our credit. It's not when we get through and finally get over stage fright and control our anger perfectly and we're generous to a fault. And then when that all happens, we'll get realization. When all those things are unfinished and we don't care about them anymore, that's probably when we're gonna receive our visa.
Next we have Masha. Masha.
I totally identify with everything that everybody said. My first frightening experience was my parents made me take singing lessons, and I had to get up on a stage, and I was very skinny, and my dad made me a top hat, and I had to sing "I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy and you're a Grand Old Flag" in an auditorium. So I was really freaked, right? And then when I became a teacher, I could talk to small groups of people, but suddenly I was in an assembly hall with a bunch of parents in a program, and they didn't tell me they were going to call me on the stage to speak to everyone. And so I got up, and in the middle I went blank, and I said, you know what, I got to sit down, I don't feel well. So that was pretty embarrassing. I got a few others. I got the Rip Van Winkle Award at St. John's College. I was going to graduate school there. Through my school, I got lucky. And they they have seminars at night at 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, not my time. So at the end, we had a party and I got the Rip Van Winkle Award for sleeping during seminars. I mean, I got a bunch of them. It's like, okay. And then I came here and all of a sudden I'm on Zoom and I'm like, oh, and I totally always felt like inadequate about speaking in front of people. And I was always a good artist, but like my mom had a very bad temper. My grandfather had a bad temper. And we were kind of, I always would rebel. Like I never wanted to be told anything, I don't want to hear it. And my father was wonderful, but he was gone a lot. So I was always watching out the window for him. So I had that. So I guess I went to a therapist and she said that I have that kind of thing they tell everybody, chronic abandonment and fear of loss or something. So I'm giving all that up. And I think I'm free now. I finally got out of my cage and I said, God, I'm not going back, so, and then I was so happy to hear that once you get where you're at, you don't go back. So I'm very excited about that, but, I don't know. Looking back, I thought that I had a really hard life, but I was really very gifted all along. As soon as I got out of college, I got a job and, I had friends, but, when I was 18, this is very personal, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. When you just take my name off of the chat. But anyway, when I was 18, went away to college. My dad died when I was 15 and my brother left home and got married. And my mom was they didn't get along. And so there was always kind of stress in my family. So I went away to college and I was on a waiting list and I got there and they put me in English and I wanted to be in art and I ran around and pretty soon I got so sick that I had to go to the hospital and I had like 50 blood transfusions. And I almost died. And I woke up. I was in the same hospital that my father, the same doctor my mom had taken care of me, that took care of my dad, and he didn't do such a good job, So I remember on Christmas Day, I went out in an ambulance. My mom finally agreed to move me, and I felt like, oh my God, there's snow. This was like from October, I think, till December roughly. And so I remember going to the hospital, and when the specialist came to look at me, my stomach burst and I almost died. So I woke up on a table, like somebody else said today that they had an experience of going back out of their body. And I wasn't sure if it was a dream, but I was on a table and all of a sudden I saw these lights above and I don't know where I was. I don't remember, but now it's coming back to me. But I zoomed back into my body because I couldn't move. I had IVs in my legs and arms. And I found out that I had the same surgery that Bao had. So as a young girl, I always wanted to be a virgin when I got married. And when I found out what I had, I said, I did everything I could to be bad, So I did everything and traveled to Mexico. I married a French Canadian and then I ended up finding who I really loved. And it's just, I've had a crazy life, but so I was pretty wild. But since 2007, I met Baba like officially in 1971. I went into a warehouse and I saw his picture and I was always doing studying religions and things. And then I met up with a person who's my Baba contact and I said, I'm going to go to Italy. And she said, oh, no, you have to go to India because Meher Baba is the newest cornflakes box in the shelf. So Jesus is cool, which I was going to be a Jew for Jesus too. So I said, okay. So she puts me on a plane to go to India. It's all arranged. First thing happens in the airport, my crown fell out of my tooth. I was eating Rolo candy. And then I got there and all these people are like, oh, and I'm like, oh my God. She said, don't give money, give candy. So I did. And then I ended up taking, the ride to India and everything. And when I got there, I felt like, oh my God, going into Baba's tomb. Okay, I'm Jewish. I'm not supposed to do that, So anyway, I get there and I come out and there's Nanu Care. And he hugs me and he says, welcome home, and gives me a piece of candy. And I knew I was home then. I felt like I was in Egypt and Israel, everywhere that I'd ever been. And then I was there on Silence Day. And I was, I met Mani. I did not met Mira. And I met, Eruch and everybody. And I remember sitting in Mandalay Hall. And I don't know if this is a dream or not, but the hall was empty and there was a big thing in the middle. And there were all these like spirits that I couldn't see, but these vibrations I felt, So now to this day, I know that, yeah, this was not a dream. But when I was very little, I think it was in Baba. I figured now that maybe it was when Baba passed through Chicago. He rode the L and he rode on the outer drive. And I had a dream, but I don't know when it was. But now I know it was real. I was in the sky and he was holding my hand. and we were flying over the lake, and it could have been, you know, the Ganges, I don't know. But far off in the right, I saw the like the Baha'i temple kind of thing, or it could have been Taj Mahal, I don't know. And so I always kind of forgot about that dream till recently. And then another time I saw, when I went to the center on the first time, I was riding down the road going out, and I saw him in a convertible in the side to the right waving. And so I thought all these things were dreams, but I think now that what we're doing now is a dream, and that was really him. And he put me, I lived in the same apartment for 30 years. And 7 years ago, some people moved in that were fighting all the time and had alcoholism problems. And my dog would jump on me, and he kept pushing me and pushing me. So every time I came here, I wanted to be here and not go back. And I always spoiled my trip trying to look for a place to be. And now, after all these years, I packed up here. Whether I would stay or not, I could stay or I could go back because I like my home. But I feel like I'm in this apartment that I'm in is just tailored to everything that I like, you know. It's convenient. I'm right looking over the center at the ocean. So I'm like home. I feel so gifted and happy that it's like, and I'm know all of you become my friends, and I'm like, you know, I'm just like so what did you say before? Don't be you said something, have faith, but now I also have conviction that Mayor Baba is truly the avatar of the age, and he's broken his silence, you know, and pretty soon, maybe, I don't know when, but we'll all know, you know. And so anyway, Bob.
Okay, let's see. Well, we're getting kind of close to the midnight hour here. I mean, the post-midnight hour, no, the midnight. Any last things? Anything that anyone wants to say, bring up? Let's see who's around.
We're all here, Jeff.
Yeah.
Miriam's here. Anything cooking, Marion?
I really resonate and appreciate with everybody sharing, and I feel a little speechless. So I think I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
You too. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And thank you everyone for sharing. It's really been helpful.
Thank you, Dinko.
Yeah. Yeah, I like what, you know, Payam, or no, what was Payam was, and it was Shraddha saying that when she feels kind of limited in herself, if you think of yourself, you're always going to be limited. That's the thing. And you think of Baba, and then you're focusing on the unlimited. I mean, simplistically, it works. But then, of course, there's a line from Rumi where he says, this is Rumi, you're so obsessed by the bad stitching on your sleeve that you fail to see the magnificence of your own garment. You know, and we kind of get way off on these little things, and we miss the big picture of who we are, you know. And you know,
Franny's a good lesson, Jeff.
What's that?
Franietta is a good lesson. She's not self-conscious ever.
Yeah.
And she's so marked, you know. I mean, she's a down adult,
Yeah.
totally unself-conscious
Yeah.
and unaware of any comparisons.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's a lesson to be around such an individual. It isn't there because it isn't real and it doesn't affect her.
Yeah. No, beautiful.
We learn all that. We learn all that through comparison. You know, we learn it all.
Yeah.
And rejection and comparison.
I know that.
Sad.
Yeah, I mean, early childhood, the kids are kind of complete. They're not. I mean, after a while, they start comparing, but you know, they arrive. Hey, you know, I'm here. And hey, you know, they're not saying like, I'm here, but I'm not quite enough. They don't do that. You know, like these kids will come up to a table where I might be eating, and they'll show their picture that they're drawing, you know, when they're young, and they're pointing out all this and that. But when they're teenagers, they would never do that. you know, they wouldn't come up to your table because they're all the self-consciousness and the right and wrong and protocol is all kind of messed up, the whole thing. Hey, but so anyone have Rainey, do you have any final anything from Francis Brabazon that you can read or something of Baba's? And then maybe
Well, I've
we'll
got
have,
something funny.
yeah.
I got something really funny from the same book that the other piece where Baba, he only comes here for Marta. He only comes here for Jeff. He only comes here for Marion. He only comes here for Dinku. But there's a funny one after that one. So you've got to have your violin and your sense of humor going here. Though you've tried oh so hard to love you, knowing there's none worthier of love than you. Something in you remains dissatisfied in spite of all the years you have tried, for Meher Baba loves you more than you can ever love your own dear loving self. For he's whole God, he's perfect man, he is the very self of yourself. Though you've wanted oh so much to love you, in a way that would be really right for you, something in you still remains unsupplied, in spite of all the years you have tried, for Meher Baba loves you more than you can ever hope to love your own dear loving self, for he's whole God and perfect man, he's the very self of yourself. And though you've sought many to help you to love you, with the kind of love entirely good for you, that fulfillment you dream of is still denied, in spite of all the years you have tried, for Meher Baba loves you more than you can ever hope to love your own dear loving self, for he is whole God and perfect man, and he's the very self of yourself.
Beautiful. That's the whole thing there. You can never quite get it right. as long as you're working on yourself, you know. Does anything come to mind with you or?
Oh my goodness. Well, where am I? I've enjoyed all the sharing tonight, and I resonate with a lot of it too. Yes, I was also had a lot of inadequacies as a young child, but I was naturally shy. I was naturally introverted, so all that went along with it too. And yes, there were moments when I felt very inadequate, and took a long time to get over that. But as I grew more in Baba's love and awareness and his teaching, I can say comfortably that I'm now in a very comfortable place, and that with all that I've had within me in the past, whatever, it does not bother me anymore. As Rainey said, and as others have said, perfection has been given up a long time ago. And because when you give your all to Baba and you know that Baba is there for you at every step, then there's nothing more for you to be concerned about, and there's nothing more for you to worry about. So just keep him, as Shraddha said, just remember him and give it all to him. That is the easiest and best way out. And that's it. That's all.
Beautiful.
I have to say on that. But anyway, I have a quote that I might end with.
Oh, good.
That's right. So it says, all that frightens and confuses you and grips you with despair is your own shadow. When the sun of love manifests in its glory and all faces are turned toward it, toward that radiance, all shadows will have disappeared. Even the memory of them will have vanished. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. Wow. Read it once again, and then we'll have a few moments of silence.
Sure. All that frightens and confuses you and grips you with despair is your own shadow. When the sun of love manifests in its glory, and all faces are turned toward that radiance, all shadows will have disappeared. Even the memory of them will have vanished. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Wow. Thank you all for illuminating this. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank
Yeah.
you, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you all.
Yeah, that was
Thank you.
really, yeah.
Thank
Nice
you
to
too.
hear
Any of you,
Baba's
if any of you come up, don't hesitate to send a topic, that you think is relevant to all of us, in one way or another.
Jeff,
Yeah.
how
Can
come
you
you
sing?
look so warm
What's
when it's
that?
freezing? How come you look so warm when it's freezing there?
Well, I'm inside.
How,
But it
how,
was,
how warm is inside there? That's more my question. How many garments do I have to bring?
oh, you're talking about what, you're
Oh.
gonna be coming soon?
24th.
Oh.
If, I mean, they just canceled 3,000 flights and
Oh.
Omicron's raging and
Yeah.
we'll see what
I-
happens.
Well, this is,
Wait,
yeah,
wait, wait.
you better bring some good warm clothes as well.
Talk to me. I just came from.
Oh,
talk to
okay.
me.
I'm
Okay,
freezing
yeah.
when it's 58, remember? So
Layers. A thin
Layers.
layer, a
Layers are good.
sweater, and a vest and a jacket. And then you
okay.
peel them off. Yeah. Okay.
And if you run short, I've got plenty of things.
Okay.
We'll keep you warm. Yeah,
I'll pick on you.
yeah.
Can somebody sing "Open Up the Door, Lord"? Like one of you guitar musicians. Open
Not
up
at
the
this hour
Lord.
of the
door.
night. Give us a
Okay.
break.
I can sing. Open up the door, Lord. Open up the door.
I can't stand anymore, no. Open up the door.
No, shut the door. It's too cold.
Put the heat on. You got heat. They got heat here. Okay.
Well,
God bless
sort of
everybody.
anyway,
Say God bless everybody. Good night.
I think we might have to close the door.
I'm sorry.
Getting
Jeff,
late.
you get it. You are wonderful.
One door
I don't know what we would
closes.
do without you. You are special. And every time I wash dishes, I think about you training me to wash dishes. You made me a cleaner. Okay.
Yeah. And we should thank
Jai
JC
Mad Baba
for
Jeff.
staying up late
Baba.
on a work night.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay,
Yeah.
good
Thank
night.
you, Jeff. Jai Mad
Yeah.
Baba.
Have a nice week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jai Baba.
Stay healthy.
You too.
Nice to see you again.
Stay warm.
Jai Baba.
Yeah. Trisha, are you there?
Wait, stop. Where's Nasreen?
Here is nothing.
There she is.
Is Nasreen? Oh, hey, there's.
Hey, Trisha.
Jeff, you forgotten me.
Well, I did. Oh, there you are. Okay.
You forgotten me. I was waiting for you.
Okay, good. Go for it. We need it. Yeah.
Avatar, Meher, Baba, Ki, Jai. Avatar,
Avatar,
Meher,
Meher,
Baba,
Baba,
Ki,
Jai.
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 Avatar, Meher, Baba,
Jai.
Jai. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stay
Stay
safe,
healthy.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
So what's the subject for